In this podcast, we're going to be constructing the point of rotation. You don't have this one in your notes, but I'm going to give you a copy of the completed construction along with the notes at the bottom there, so you can have that, and it'll be in your next homework assignment, or next class assignment, so you can compare mine to yours and just follow along with the steps. But I'm going to go over them now. Okay. So first of all, I need a straight edge, and I'll have to use a line tool because I can't use a straight edge up here. And we're going to connect corresponding points. You're going to have to connect two pairs of corresponding points. It does not matter which ones they are. I tend to choose ones that are kind of closer to one another. So for instance, I'm going to use A and A prime, as opposed to maybe using a point, all the way on the other side of the M there. And B and B prime. I'm just going to use A and A prime for right now, and then I'll add B and B prime. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a compass. There we go. And you're going to take the compass, and we're going to do a perpendicular bisector construction. There we go. Yep, come on, compass. There we go. And so if you remember, for perpendicular bisector, I need to put one end at the one end point, okay, and then I'm going to open the compass, and I'm actually making it a different color than black, and I'm going to open that compass. I need to open it more than halfway. That's good enough. And we make our arc above and below the line. Okay? We want to make a pretty good arc because the arcs from the other side are going to have to intersect these two arcs. So I'm not going to change the compass in any way. I'm just going to move it to the other point. There we go. And flip it around. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Right? So I'm going to make the arc above and below from the other point. And where the two arcs that were drawn from the different endpoints intersect is where our perpendicular bisector should go. Right? So I'm going to connect those to create a perpendicular bisector. I actually want to change the color, otherwise it kind of looks all the same. There we go, and there we go. So I'm going to draw a line, and that line is going to intersect, and you'll use a straight edge to draw your line. I had to use a line tool up here. And I need to make sure that it intersects the 2 points right there that are on where the arcs intersect, right there. Yeah. All right, so that's one perpendicular bisector. That's the perpendicular bisector for AA. So I'm just going to write that down. Perpendicular bisector of A prime. Right. All right, I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'm going to do it with B and B prime. So I'm going to get a line tool. Let me just make it another color so it stands out. There we go. All right, and I'm going to connect B and B prime. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. We're going to create a perpendicular bisector. Right. So come on, compass. Come on. There we are. All right, and I'm going to put the point of the compass on one endpoint. Right, and then I'm going to make arc above and below. And then I'm going to move it over here to the other endpoint. I'm going to turn that around. There we go. And make the arc above and below. Ooh, I made my arc a little bit small on the last one. Notice they only kind of intersect. Let's see if I can fix that arc real quick. So that was done from this endpoint here. Around this comes. There we go. Let me continue my arc. And then I can move. There we go. Whoop, move that out of the way. Kind of moves slower when I'm taping for some reason. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a line tool out. And I need a line that connects. Oh, let's choose pretty color. There we go. I need a line that's going to intersect where these two arcs intersect, right? So it intersects the two arcs, right? There we go. So we've drawn a line through those two intersections there. And if you notice, and you want to make sure when you do this, by the way, make sure you make that line long enough so that your perpendicular bisectors intersect. So that point right there, right here, where the perpendicular bisectors intersect, right? So we have the perpendicular bisector of A prime, and we have the perpendicular bisector of B prime. Where those two intersect, oops, there goes my pen, is the point of rotation. Yes, point of rotation. Point of rotation, right? So all you have to do is do a perpendicular bisector constructor for any two pairs of corresponding points. And that point of rotation, written right up here, is where those perpendicular bisectors intersect. And so if you can do two perpendicular bisectors, well, you've got your point of rotation. That's all there is to it, right? So hope this made lots of sense to you, and just follow along the steps, and you can always watch this again when you're doing your classwork, and just do this along with me. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Bye.